Then came the day of unleavened bread. This was the day that all Israel was waiting for. It was the most important day on their religious calendar. The celebration is also known as the Passover, and it's commemorating the day of deliverance from Egypt as the Spirit of God passed over every home that was marked by the blood of the Lamb. Jesus and his disciples had made their way to Jerusalem specifically to be present for the Passover celebration. The purpose for this would become progressively clearer as we behold the day that we call Maundy Thursday. Maundy Thursday's importance is oftentimes overshadowed by the massive weight that we give to Good Friday and Easter. But its connections with the Jewish holiday and its ultimate theological connections make Maundy Thursday a day rich in tradition and meaning. On this day in Jerusalem, pilgrims who had made their way to the city sought a place to prepare the commemorative meal. In each home, a lamb would be sacrificed and consumed in the memory of that glorious day of salvation. And Jesus and his disciples selected a large upper room to begin to prepare the feast. This was the beginning of the last meal that Jesus would ever eat with his disciples. Understanding the looming betrayal and sacrifice, Jesus' focus had turned from correcting the wrongs in Jerusalem to preparing his followers for life beyond him. As the meal was about to begin, Jesus got up from the table. He removed his outer garment and he carried a basin of water with a towel. He knelt beside each disciple and he washed their feet. In this moment, Jesus put on a display of his sacrificial love for his followers. Though he was their master, their savior, their king, and their God, he was willing to humble himself to wash their dirty and dusty feet. Consequently, the brash Peter does not feel comfortable with Jesus washing his feet and decides that he wants nothing to do with it. But Jesus is clear with his message. If you have nothing to do with this cleansing and this service, then you have nothing to do with me. Peter responded, "Lord, clean all of me." But the point here for Jesus was service and sacrifice, that their master was not above serving them. Therefore they, his disciples, ought also to serve and love one another. Jesus commands them to follow his example. And followers of Jesus will certainly grow and mature in their faith. They will grow and mature in their understanding, but they should never grow beyond a servant. As the meal commenced and the evening wore on, the disciples and their teacher reclined at the table. Without directly knowing it, they were soaking in the few precious moments they had left with Jesus. Then came a moment, though, in the Last Supper that set in motion the events of the final hours of Maundy Thursday. Jesus declares that one in the room, one who had walked with him, one who had served with him, one who had loved him and cared for him and been part of his closest friends and most intense disciples, would betray him. Ultimately, Judas leaves the upper room, and Jesus turns to the remaining disciples to teach them about his impending sacrifice by the institution of a new covenant promise. This promise was to be purchased by his broken body and his spilled blood. His once and for all sacrifice would usher in a new type of promise, a promise that offers real and full forgiveness on the basis of Jesus giving his life. They finish their Passover meal and leave the upper room to finish the evening praying in the garden on the Mount of Olives in a place called Gethsemane. In that garden, Jesus would pray late into the night. In that garden, Jesus would leave blood, sweat, and tears. And in that garden, Judas would give the kiss of betrayal to Jesus. The Maundy Thursday celebration customarily ends sorrowfully as Christians mourn for Jesus as they behold scenes that carry with it little hope. But we also know that although the moments seem hopeless, God is working out a plan for the salvation of the world. And so join us in mournful worship as we behold the scenes of Easter.